Okay, let's take a deep dive today into something you might not think about every day, but it turns out to be a surprisingly big market. Trailer sprinklers. We're digging into a really interesting report here. Global trailer sprinkler market. Growth and regional dynamics.
Right. And our mission, really, for this deep dive is to go beyond just the raw numbers.
Okay.
We want to unpack this data, uh, understand the market's current scale, where it's headed, over the next decade or so,
Yeah.
and especially look at the key regional differences that are shaping its future. Because this isn't just abstract stuff. It's driven by real needs.
Like what?
Well, think efficient irrigation for farming, dust control on building sites, maybe mining, landscaping projects.
Practical stuff.
Exactly. We're looking at how those applications translate into, well, a multi-billion-dollar global industry.
All right, let's unpack that global picture then. The data paints a picture of pretty strong growth.
Definitely.
The source says that back in 2021, the market value was $1,318.1 million.
Yep, about $1.3 billion.
But the projection shows a pretty big jump, reaching $714.9 million by just 2025.
And here's where it gets, well, really interesting. By 2033,
Go on.
that market value is expected to nearly double from that 2021 number. It's projected to surge to $2,902.7 million.
Whoa! Nearly double? Wait, from $1.3 billion to almost $3 billion by 2033.
That's what the projection shows.
That's quite a trajectory. The source mentions a global compound annual growth rate, the CAGR.
Right, a CAGR.
Of 6.8% over that forecast period. Now, 6.8% globally, that's pretty healthy, isn't it?
It is. And that CAGR, it sort of smooths out the growth year over year. But 6.8% globally tells you something important.
Which
It
is?
signifies really widespread increasing use of these, mobile sprinkler systems. It suggests that this isn't some tiny niche anymore.
No, clearly not. It's becoming more central in, like you said, various key sectors around the world.
What's fascinating, I think, is how quickly a seemingly specialized product category grows into such a substantial global market. That kind of growth rate, it suggests it's really hitting the mark, solving fundamental challenges.
Like water efficiency.
Exactly. More efficient water use in agriculture or managing environmental things like dust on big projects. Things people really need solutions for.
Right. A market almost doubling in, a little over a decade? Something fundamental is definitely driving that demand.
Mm-hmm.
So where is this growth actually happening most dynamically? The source breaks it down regionally, right? And there are some notable differences.
There really are. If you look at the big picture, regionally speaking,
Mhm.
the data points very clearly to Asia Pacific.
Okay. The powerhouse?
Absolutely the powerhouse.
Mhm.
Driving the highest growth. Back in 2021, the Asia Pacific market was already the biggest.
How big?
$502.2 million. But it's projected to hit $1,198.4 million by 2033.
Wow.
And that comes with the highest regional CGR listed in the report, 7.2%.
Over $1 billion just in Asia Pacific by 2033. That's a massive piece of the pie.
It is. And if you drill down within the Asia Pacific, you see some of the fastest national growth rates anywhere.
It's like,
Well, China is the largest market by value, growing significantly. No surprise there, maybe. But India really stands out.
India. How so?
It shows the highest projected growth rate among all the countries listed in the source, a CAGR of 8.3% from 2021 to 2033.
8.3% CGAR in India. That's
Mhm.
well, that's way above the global average of 6.8%.
It is significantly higher.
What do you think is behind that kind of accelerated demand specifically there?
Well, if you think about the drivers we mentioned, agriculture, construction, infrastructure,
Right.
India's rapid economic development, its huge agricultural sector, all the ongoing infrastructure projects, it likely creates, very fertile ground for adopting trailer sprinklers.
Especially if water efficiency is a big concern.
Exactly. Especially where water use is becoming more and more critical.
That makes a lot of sense. High growth often lines up with places developing fast or facing specific resource challenges these things help with.
Now, let's maybe contrast that with some other regions. North America.
Okay, what about North America?
It's already a mature market, sure, and it's the second largest globally by value. But it shows solid, yet slightly slower growth compared to Asia Pacific.
Slower how?
The overall CAGR for North America is projected at 6.5%.
So still healthy growth. 6.5% is nothing.
This audio was created with Podcastle.ai.
5%.
So still healthy growth, 6.5% is nothing to sneeze at, but just not quite those explosive rates we see in, say, India
Correct.
and Europe. How does that stack up?
Europe as a whole actually shows a slightly higher CAGR than North America, 6.6%.
Okay.
Projected value of about $543.3 million by 2033. But there's quite a bit of variation within Europe.
Oh.
Yeah. Some countries, like the UK and Germany, they showed KGRs above 7%. Pretty strong.
Right.
But others, like Italy and Russia, are closer to maybe 5.5% to 5.7%. And interestingly, the rest of Europe category,
Yeah.
that actually shows the highest collective growth rate within Europe in the data,
Yeah.
7.8%.
That variation is interesting. It suggests that even within a big economic zone like Europe, local factors really matter. Maybe specific rules about dust control, or how intensive farming is in one area versus another, or just the pace of construction.
That all lead to quite different adoption rates.
Oh, that.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then if we shift our focus to the Middle East and Africa, the data there presents a more mixed picture.
Mixed how?
Well, while some countries show sort of moderate growth, the category rest of the Middle East actually shows the lowest CAGR among all the regions listed.
Lowest. What is it?
A more modest 4.1%.
Wow, only 4.1% in parts of Middle West, compared to 8.3% in India or 7.2% for Asia Pacific overall. That's a pretty stark difference.
It is. It does make you wonder, doesn't it, about market maturity there,
Yeah.
or maybe investment levels in those sectors,
So maybe different tech being used.
or perhaps the availability and adoption of alternative technologies in those specific areas. Meanwhile, South America shows steady growth. Brazil's leading the charge there.
So, okay, summing that up. We're seeing a global market set for strong growth overall, right? But with these really significant regional hotspots, like India showing exceptional speed.
While other areas, like parts of the Middle East, are growing, but much, much more slowly.
Precisely. The data really highlights that while the basic reasons to use trailer sprinklers are pretty universal, manage water, control dust,
Yeah, fundamental.
the speed and the scale of adoption vary quite a bit. Depends on local economic conditions, environmental pressures, maybe even regulations, or the tech infrastructure already in place.
Wow. Okay, taking that deep dive into the trailer sprinkler market, it really did reveal a much larger, more dynamic global industry than you might expect at first glance.
It does, doesn't it?
With those big growth projections and, as you say, those fascinating regional variations we just talked about.
Indeed. We've seen that overall global growth path, and then we kind of drilled down into how different regions, even individual countries, are contributing, noticing those varied CAGRs, from that high of 8.3% in India,
Yeah.
all the way down to the lower 4.1% in the rest of the Middle East category. And it seems clear this market is really being shaped by those big, almost universal needs like water efficiency, environmental sustainability, alongside the very practical uses in farming, construction, landscaping.
And if we try to connect this to the bigger picture, you see these significant regional differences in growth rates.
Right, despite the common drivers.
Exactly. The need for efficient irrigation, the need for dust control, those seem pretty global. So this raises, I think, an important question for you, the listener, to consider.
Okay.
Given these common needs and the specific growth numbers we've seen, what might the differences in those regional growth rates actually tell us? What might they suggest about the specific challenges being faced, or maybe the investment priorities, or perhaps even different innovative approaches being taken in various parts of the world? How are they tackling water management and environmental control in these key industries differently?
So thinking about what that 8.3% in India might signal about their focus?
Practice on infrastructure or agriculture there, yeah. Versus what the 4.1% in parts of the Middle East might imply about their context or priorities. Something to mull over. Okay, let's dive into something pretty essential, but maybe a bit overlooked in dental labs.
Definitely.
Today we're exploring rotary dental laboratory sealers. We've looked at quite a bit of material on, the market, what's driving it, where it's all heading.
Yeah, it's a niche but important area.
So our mission here is, well, to quickly get you up to speed on the real growth drivers and also the roadblocks, the things holding it back, and of course, the cool innovations happening right now.
Right.
You probably know these sealers are vital for that airtight, contamination-free packaging. Prosthetics, instruments, you name it.
Quality control, hygiene, all rolled into one.
Exactly. But our sources suggest there's a bit more to it than just sealing bags.
Oh, for sure. What really stands out is how the demand for, Sheer precision in dental work is pushing this.
Precision, how so?
Well, think about it. Patient expectations are higher, right? Complex stuff like veneers, implants.
Yeah, definitely more of that going on.
So labs need packaging that's totally consistent, error-free. Manual sealing just can't guarantee that reliably, especially at scale.
Makes sense.
Rotary sealers give you that repeatable, validated seal. It's critical for keeping those delicate, often expensive items perfect. It's not just fast, it's dependably accurate.
Right, dependably accurate. And the sources really connect that to the boom in cosmetic and restorative dentistry globally.
Absolutely. More advanced procedures mean more items needing secure packaging. The volume's just going up.
Especially, it seems, in some emerging markets. They're catching up fast.
That's right, creating a baseline demand for more efficient ways to package things. Like these sealers.
And there's another angle, too, right? The digital side of things.
Yeah, that's a huge factor. The rapid shift to digital workflows, CAD/CAM tech in labs, it's a powerful tailwind.
How do the sealers fit in there?
Well, these high-tech labs work with really tight tolerances. They need sterile, controlled environment. Rotary sealers just integrate smoothly. They support clean room standards, cut down on manual handling.
This audio was created with Podcastle.ai.
Smoothly. They support clean room standards, cut down on manual handling. That's vital when you're dealing with digitally designed parts.
So they match the need for precision and efficiency in that digital context.
Exactly. Fits perfectly.
Okay, so strong growth drivers then. Precision, volume, digital integration. But the sources are pretty clear. It's not all easy going. What are the big hurdles?
Yeah, that brings up a really key point about accessibility. Cost.
The cost. Always a factor.
A major one here. That high upfront investment. It's a significant barrier.
For who, mainly? Smaller labs.
Exactly. A big lab might see the ROI pretty clearly from efficiency gains, but a smaller lab, maybe in a region with less capital, that initial cost can be, well, prohibitive.
Even if they see the long-term benefits.
Yeah, it creates a real divide,
Yeah.
which ties into another hurdle the sources mentioned, awareness.
People just don't know about them or the benefits.
Sort of, especially in places maybe still using older methods. They might not know about the latest rotary sealers, might assume they're all huge, expensive machines.
Right, unaware of maybe newer, smaller, or more cost-effective options.
Precisely. Or they haven't seen the specific ROI data. The sources said, more education is needed, but it's often lacking.
Okay, cost and awareness.
Yeah.
Anything else operationally?
Oh, yeah. Maintenance.
Yeah.
Once a lab does get one, these aren't just plug and play forever.
They need looking after.
They need regular maintenance, calibration. You have to ensure that seal stays perfectly intact.
So what happens if they don't?
Well, wear and tear, especially on parts like heating elements or sealing bars, can cause failures, downtime.
Which labs can't afford.
Exactly. And if you don't have easy access to technical support, it becomes a massive headache, undermines the whole efficiency argument.
Got it. So cost, awareness, maintenance, definite speed bumps, especially hitting smaller players and maybe global reach. But looking forward, what's exciting? What are the innovations?
We're seeing some really cool tech integration.
Like what?
Newer models have sophisticated digital features, touch screens, programmable settings for different materials.
So smarter machines.
Totally. Even internal data logging for quality control records. They're moving from basic mechanics to smart tools. That gives much better consistency, traceability. Huge for regulated environments.
That level of control sounds like a real game changer. Consistency is everything there.
It really is.
And with everyone so focused on hygiene now, especially post-pandemic, where do sealers fit?
Right in the center. The sources highlighted this enhanced, probably permanent, focus on sterilization and secure packaging.
So even more important now.
Definitely. Rotary sealers are pretty much considered essential now for sealing sterilization pouches. They directly support infection control in labs and clinics. That reliable sterile barrier isn't just nice to have, it's a must-have.
A necessity. Okay. And I think I saw something about portability. That seems odd for lab gear.
Yeah, it sounds counterintuitive, but it's a key trend the sources pointed to. It could really change workflows.
How so? Smaller units.
Yep. Manufacturers are making more compact, even desktop or portable models.
So you can move it around.
Exactly. Packaging doesn't have to happen only in a central lab. It can be closer to the point of use, maybe in the clinic, or chairside for sealing right after cleaning.
Wow, okay. That would cut down turnaround times.
Dramatically. And it changes how labs and clinics might interact. It's about distributing the efficiency.
That portability shift, plus the digital smarts and their core hygiene role, really changes the game for these devices.
Absolutely. It's fascinating to see them evolve, not just simple packaging machines anymore.
No, definitely not.
They're becoming these quite sophisticated tools, foundational really, for sterility, for quality and high precision work, and for streamlining how things get done in labs and clinics.
Quiet workhorses
Yeah.
enabling all that high-tech dentistry.
Couldn't have said it better. They really are.
So, wrapping up our deep dive today.
It's clear the market's growing, pushed by precision demands, the rise in cosmetic work, and digital integration.
But facing those hurdles, cost, awareness, maintenance, especially for smaller outfits.
Right. And the trends. Digital features, portability boosting function, and that hygiene focus making them critical.
So, final thought for you listening.
Yeah, something to mull over as you look at the dental field. How is this all going to play out? You've got this undeniable growing need for the precise hygienic packaging these machines offer. But you also have significant cost barriers. How will that balance shape who gets access to advanced dental care globally in the years ahead?
This audio was created with Podcastle.ai.